And I know what some of y'all are thinking: if I don't handle this, who will? If I let go, what if it falls apart? But that's fear talking, and fear will keep you stuck in a cycle of stress and struggle. Fear will have you believing that your effort is the only thing keeping things together. But faith says, God's got this. Faith says, even if it looks like it's falling apart, I know He's putting it together in ways I can't see. You ever carry something heavy for too long? After a while, even if you're strong, that weight starts breaking you down. You can't think straight. You can't breathe right. You can't even enjoy the little moments because that pressure is all consuming. That's what life feels like when you try to handle everything without God. But when you surrender, when you take that same weight and put it in His hands, there's a freedom that shows up, a lightness, a peace. And don't get me wrong, surrender ain't always easy. It takes humility. It takes faith. Sometimes it takes tears. But every time I've surrendered something to God, my plans, my pain, my pride, He's turned it into something better than I could have built on my own. That's not weakness. That's what happens when you trust the one who wrote your story before you even knew how to read it. So stop letting the world define what strength looks like. Strength ain't about being hard all the time. It ain't about hiding your emotions or pretending you're fine when you're falling apart inside. Strength is saying, God, I'm struggling, but I trust you. I don't know how this is going to work out, but I believe you do. Strength is knowing that surrendering to God doesn't end the battle. It just puts the battle in the hands of someone who never loses. You might be in a situation right now where you feel like you're running out of options. You've tried everything you know how to do and nothing's working. That's your sign. That's your moment to say, okay, God, I'm done trying to fix this myself. I give it to you. And watch what happens. Watch how peace comes in like a flood. Watch how doors open you didn't even knock. Watch how people show up, how favor finds you, how things shift, not because you fought harder, but because you surrendered smarter. Surrender is not your defeat. It's the start of your deliverance. Let me tell you something real important. Faith is your weapon. Out of everything you can arm yourself with in this life, money, influence, education, connections, none of it compares to faith. That's the one thing that will carry you when nothing else can. It's not just something you talk about on Sundays. Faith is your everyday armor. It's what you pull out when the lights go off, when the doors close, when the phone stops ringing, when the bank account is low and the diagnosis is heavy. Faith ain't just for good days, it's for every day, especially the hard ones. See, when life gets tough, and trust me, it will, your natural reaction is to go into fight mode. You want to push, fix, argue, stress, work overtime, force it to happen. And don't get me wrong, hard work matters. But some situations require something beyond effort. Some battles won't be won by logic or strength. They'll only be won by faith. And if you don't learn how to use that faith, you'll keep losing to stuff you were always supposed to overcome. I know what it feels like to be at the bottom. I know what it's like to not have a backup plan, to feel like everything is falling apart and time is running out. But in the middle of all that, I also know what it's like to choose faith anyway. I've seen what happens when you decide, I'm not going to let fear talk louder than my trust in God. Because faith isn't about having everything figured out. It's about believing even when you don't. It's standing in the middle of chaos and saying, God, I don't see a way, but I know you are the way. See, people think faith is a feeling. It's not. Faith is a decision. You wake up and choose it, even when your emotions are screaming something else. You choose it when your circumstances don't match your prayers. You choose it when your mind tells you to panic, but your spirit says, hold on, He's working. And when you got it, nothing can break you permanently. Yeah, you might bend, you might cry, you might stumble, but you won't be destroyed because you've got something stronger than the storm you're facing. That's what makes faith a weapon. It doesn't stop the storm from coming, but it makes sure the storm doesn't stop you. Let me tell you, there were times I didn't know where my next check was coming from. I had dreams bigger than my circumstances, and every voice around me was saying, be realistic, settle, play it safe. But something in me, something unshakable said, keep believing, don't fold. That wasn't willpower, that was faith. That's what pushed me when everything else said give up. That's what made me keep going when quitting would have made more sense. And you know, that same faith will do the same thing for you. Now hear me, faith don't mean everything's gonna go your way. Faith don't mean you won't have setbacks or tears. Faith just means you know the story ain't over when it looks like it is. Faith is the reminder that God's promises don't expire just because things got rough. And sometimes the only reason you ain't broken yet is because your faith has been holding you together. You didn't survive because you were the smartest or strongest. You survived because deep down you still believed. You believed that something better was ahead. You believed that God wouldn't bring you this far just to leave you. You believed that somehow, some way you were going to make it. And you did. That's the power of faith. It doesn't need proof to get started. It moves before the evidence shows up. It speaks life when everything around you looks like death. Faith sees a miracle before it happens. And that kind of vision, that kind of inner strength, that's unstoppable. Now people are going to look at you and wonder how you keep it together. They'll wonder how you're smiling when you're going through it, how you've still got peace when nothing makes sense. That's faith. It don't always make sense to the world, but it makes miracles to God. See, when you use faith as your weapon, you're not fighting the way the world fights. You're not responding with fear. You're not reacting with panic. You're responding with trust. You're walking into rooms with confidence even when you're underqualified. You're making moves even when you're unsure because you know who's walking with you. Faith gives you access to a strength that's not your own. That's why it's dangerous to the enemy. That's why life tries so hard to shake your belief, because once your faith is gone, everything else starts crumbling. But as long as you still got faith, you still got a shot. And not just a shot, an advantage, because God responds to faith. That's what moves heaven. That's what makes him say, I see you, trust in me. I see you walking even when you don't know the way. I'm going to honor that. Don't ever let this world convince you that your faith is small or soft. Faith is the strongest thing you can have. It's what built kingdoms, parted seas, moved mountains. It's what kept people standing when everyone else fell. And that same faith, it lives in you. You just got to use it, feed it, speak it, activate it every single day. So if you're in the middle of a battle right now, and I know some of y'all are, don't pick up fear. Don't reach for worry. Don't grab frustration. Pick up your faith, aim it, speak it, stand on it. Let the enemy know, I may not have all the answers. I may not even know how this is, but I do know who's fighting for me, and that's more than enough. You know, sometimes in life we feel like we're in the middle of a war in our finances, our relationships, our minds. It feels like we're swinging and fighting just to survive the day. We're stressed out, worn down, and confused. But let me tell you something, you don't have to fight every battle that shows up at your door. Let me tell you something real quick. One of the biggest mistakes we make is thinking we gotta handle everything by ourselves. That every single fight, every single problem, every bit of pressure is ours to carry, ours to solve. We get up in the morning stressed, go to bed anxious, trying to figure it all out like we're in control of the whole universe. But I came to tell somebody today, the battle ain't even yours to begin with. You're out here swinging at everything that moves, exhausting yourself when God already told you this is not your fight. See, life will have you thinking you gotta be everything to everybody. You gotta be the provider, the protector, the fixer, the planner, the strong one. But you were never meant to carry all that weight. That kind of pressure will crush you if you let it. You were built to trust God, not to try to be him. And there's a big difference between the two. I remember times when I was trying to solve things with my own limited knowledge. I didn't know what was coming next. I didn't have the resources, and I surely didn't have the answers. But I was trying to act like I did. You ever been putting on a brave face for people? Trying to make it look like you're in control when deep down you're just hoping you don't fall apart. That's where I was, fighting a battle I had no business trying to win on my own. But then it hit me one day, this ain't my fight. This stress, this pressure, this overwhelming fear, it doesn't belong to me. I had to realize that God never asked me to be the solution. He asked me to trust him while he works it out. And that shift in mindset, it changed everything. I stopped trying to fix every problem with my limited hands and started putting it in the hands of the one who sees it all, knows it all, and can do it all. Sometimes God will let you get to the end of yourself, not to break you, but to show you that he is the one who's been holding you the whole time. He'll let things get so heavy that the only thing you can do is fall to your knees and say, God, I can't carry this anymore. And in that moment, that's when he steps in. That's when he says, I've been waiting for you to give this to me. Because as long as you're holding it, he can't take it. God don't compete for control. You either let him lead or you keep trying to fight battles that don't belong to you. I know it feels like you gotta keep everything together. I know you feel like if you let go, everything will fall apart. But here's what you gotta understand. Sometimes letting go is what saves you. Letting go is what gives God room to show you who he really is. When you stop trying to do everything and start trusting him with anything, that's when peace starts showing up in places where you used to panic. You gotta understand that not every battle is yours to fight. Some things are beyond your reach for a reason. Some people walked away from you not because you weren't enough, but because God was protecting you. Some doors closed not because you failed, but because he was redirecting you. And that situation you keep stressing about, that thing you've been losing sleep over, God is already working on it behind the scenes, but he can't finish it if you keep getting in the way. You weren't made to carry the weight of the world on your back. You were made to carry faith in your heart. And when you walk in that faith, when you truly trust that God's got it, you don't have to fight so hard. You don't have to prove anything. You don't have to fear the unknown, because you know the one who already wrote the outcome. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not telling you to sit back and do nothing. I'm saying do what you can, but don't kill yourself trying to do what only God can. Pray about it. Take wise steps, but know when to stand still and let him move. The Bible says, be still and know that I am God. That means stop panicking, stop plotting, stop pacing around at night. Just be still and trust that battle you're facing. It's not just about you. It's about God showing you that he's still in control. It's about him strengthening your faith, building your character, teaching you patience. Sometimes the victory is not in the outcome, but in the trust you developed while you were waiting. So don't be discouraged when things don't move as fast as you want them to. Don't give up just because you can't see how it's going to work out. God's got a strategy you can't even see. He's moving pieces in the background, lining up things for your good. But you got to stop swinging at every shadow and let him take over. So the next time you feel overwhelmed, the next time you're tempted to panic or fight back or take control, just remember this: you don't have to fight every battle. Some battles are won in silence, on your knees with your hands lifted. Some victories come not when you fight, but when you surrender. Let God fight your battles. He's undefeated. Now let me tell you something that most folks don't understand. Surrender don't mean weakness. I know this world teaches you to never back down, never show emotion, always keep fighting. Especially as a man, especially when you got responsibilities, pressure, expectations on your back. We grow up thinking that letting go is the same as giving up. But that's a lie. That's a lie the world sold us. Because the truth is, real strength is knowing when to surrender. See, there's a difference between quitting and handing something over to God. When you quit, you're saying, I'm done because I don't believe there's anything left. But when you surrender, you're saying, I'm not done. I'm just trusting the one who knows more than me. That's not weakness. That's wisdom. That's faith. I used to think I had to fix everything myself. I was out here trying to hustle my way out of every storm. I was praying, sure, but I was still gripping the steering wheel, still trying to control the whole ride. You ever do that? You say you trust God, but you're still trying to drive the car. You're still checking the GPS every 5 seconds, trying to tell him where to turn. But God don't need a co-pilot. He don't need you to be the solution. He needs you to trust that he is the solution. When you surrender something to him, you're not showing weakness. You're actually stepping into divine strength. You're saying, God, I can't, but I know you can. And that right there is power. We think strength is in the grind. We think it's in the sleepless nights, the non-stop worry, the constant overthinking. But real strength is peace. Real strength is being able to say, even though I don't have the answer, I know the one who does, and I trust him. That kind of surrender brings a calm that confusion can't shake. It brings a confidence that doesn't come from what's around you, but from what's inside you. Let me be real with you. There were moments in my life when I was worn all the way down. Life had hit me hard. I'm talking broke, tired, embarrassed, and I had a choice: keep trying to carry everything myself, or put it in God's hands. And when I finally said, God, I can't do this no more, when I really let go, not just in words, but in my heart, that's when things started shifting. You can't invite God into a situation and then block him with your need for control. That's not how this works. If you want him to fight your battles, you got to put the weapons down. You got to stop swinging at every problem and let him take over. That's not giving up, that's growing up in your faith. You know what a lot of people get wrong? They think trusting God means sitting around waiting for something to magically happen. Like you're supposed to fold your arms, lean back, and wait for heaven to drop everything in your lap. But that's not how it works. Faith doesn't mean you stop moving. It means you know when to move and when to let God move. You do what you can do, and you leave the rest to him. That's the balance. That's the rhythm you gotta learn if you want to walk through life with peace and power. See, some of us are doing too much, trying to control things we were never meant to carry. And others were doing too little, waiting on God to do what he's already placed in our hands to handle. But there's a sweet spot right in the middle. That's where faith lives. That's where wisdom kicks in. That's where you say, God, I'm going to take the step you told me to take, but I'm not going to stress over what's outside my reach. You handle what's in your lane, and you let him handle the rest. It's like this. If you're planting a seed, it's your job to dig the hole, put it in the ground, water it. That's what you can do. But you can't make it rain. You can't force the sun to shine. You can't make that seed grow. That's on God. And sometimes we get so caught up trying to control the rain, trying to control the outcome, that we forget our job is just to plant the seed and trust the process. That's where the peace is, knowing you've done your part and trusting God to do his. I had to learn this the hard way. I used to try to manage everything, every detail, every person, every outcome. I'd stress myself out trying to make things go a certain way. And when they didn't, man, I'd be frustrated, angry, wondering why it didn't work out. But over time, I realized something. All that stress came from me trying to play both parts, trying to be the planner and the provider, trying to make the plan and make it happen. That's not faith. That's fear disguised as control. Faith is when you say, Lord, I'll walk through the door when you open it, but I'm not going to break it down trying to get through before it's time. You can't rush God, and you can't slow him down either. He knows the exact moment when things are supposed to click, when the blessing is supposed to show up, when the right person's supposed to enter your life. And if you jump ahead trying to force it, you might end up with something you were never supposed to have, something that looks good for a moment, but costs you peace, energy, and time in the long run. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying sit on your hands and wait for your life to change. I'm saying work while you wait. Stay consistent. Stay committed. Keep showing up. Keep preparing. Keep praying. But while you're doing that, let go of the outcome. Let go of that anxiety about how and when it's going to work out. Because the truth is, the timing is not your job. The results are not your job. Your job is obedience. Your job is faithfulness. Your job is to be ready when God says now. A lot of people are missing out on peace because they're trying to carry both sides of the story. They're trying to do their part in God's part. And that's what burns you out. That's what makes you frustrated. But when you really get this, when you understand the power of doing what you can and letting God do what only he can, that's when your life starts to flow. That's when you can sleep at night even if things aren't perfect. That's when you can smile even if the breakthrough hasn't come yet, because you know you're not walking through life alone. You've got help, and God's not just sitting on the sidelines watching you struggle. He's working behind the scenes, in the quiet, in the waiting, in the stuff you can't see and don't understand. While you're doing your small part, he's moving mountains you don't even know about. He's lining up opportunities, removing obstacles, softening hearts, setting things up in ways that only make sense later. But that's what makes him God. He works in the details. And when you trust him with those details, that's when you start to live with confidence. Not because you've got everything figured out, but because you know he does. Sometimes the hardest part of faith is not doing more, it's knowing when to stop. Knowing when to say, I've done my part, now I'm going to rest. Now I'm going to trust. Now I'm going to breathe. Because faith without works is dead. Yeah, we know that. But works without faith, that's just noise. That's stress. That's striving. And God didn't call you to live like that. He called you to walk in faith, to live in peace, to know that if you're obedient, he'll be faithful. So if you're in a season right now where it feels like you've been grinding, pushing, praying, and still haven't seen the results, I want you to hear me. Don't quit. Don't stop doing your part. But also don't carry the weight of the outcome. Don't let the delay make you doubt. Just because you haven't seen it yet doesn't mean it's not happening. Some of God's best work takes time. You do your part and then you let go and let him do it. You keep showing up, but you stop stressing about the when and how. That's the key. That's the posture. That's the power of walking with God. You take the step, he opens the door. You plant the seed, he brings the growth. You do what you can do and you let him handle the rest. You're not in this by yourself. You never were, you never will be. So take the pressure off, do your part, and leave the rest to God. Now let me tell you something that took me years to understand. God's timing is perfect, even when it feels all wrong to us. I know that's hard to hear when you're in the middle of waiting, when you feel like you've been doing everything right, praying, working, staying faithful, and still nothing's changing. Still no breakthrough, still no open door, still no sign that what you've been asking for is even coming. In those moments, it's real easy to start questioning everything. You start asking God, where are you? Why is this taking so long? Did you forget about me? But listen to me. He hasn't forgotten you. He hasn't missed a thing. He's just moving in a time frame that's bigger than your understanding. See, we live in a world that wants everything now. Instant, quick. We got fast food, fast Wi-Fi, express shipping. And if something takes too long, we assume it's broken. Or worse, that it's never going to happen. But God don't work like that. He's not rushing to meet your deadline. He's not scrambling to keep up with your expectations. He's working according to his purpose. And sometimes that means he's going to make you wait. Not to hurt you, not to punish you, but to prepare you. Because let's be honest, some of the stuff you're asking for right now, if he gave it to you today, it would crush you. Not because you're not worthy, but because you're not ready yet. There's a process to preparation. Sometimes the reason you're waiting is because he's doing work in you before he does work around you. He's building your character, shaping your mindset, teaching you to trust him, not just for the blessing, but in the silence before it comes. And I know waiting can feel like the hardest part, especially when you see other people getting what you prayed for. You're scrolling through your phone and it looks like everybody else's life is taking off while yours is standing still. They're getting married, they're starting businesses, they're hitting milestones, and you're still waiting. That's when comparison starts creeping in. That's when you start wondering if something's wrong with you. But let me tell you something. Just because someone else's blessing came quicker doesn't mean yours isn't on the way. Their timing isn't your timing. Their story isn't your story. And their success isn't your standard. God is writing your story and he knows exactly when to turn the page. He knows when to shift things. He knows when the right opportunity, the right connection, the right moment will align. And when it does, you won't have to force it. You won't have to chase it. It'll fit, it'll flow, it'll feel like peace. That's how you know it's God. It doesn't come with confusion, it comes with clarity. Now some of y'all are waiting on something big right now. Maybe it's healing. Maybe it's a breakthrough in your finances. Maybe it's a calling you feel deep inside, but doors just won't open yet. And you're getting frustrated. You're tired, you're starting to lose hope. But don't, please, just because it hasn't happened yet, doesn't mean it's not going to. You have no idea what God is setting up behind the scenes. You don't know what he's moving out of your way or what he's getting ready for you. But I promise you this, when his timing hits, it'll make sense why you had to wait. And I get it. We want the blessing. We want the answer. We want the yes. But sometimes God's greatest gift is the wait, because it's in the waiting that you develop the strength you'll need once the blessing comes. It's in the waiting that your faith gets real. That's where you stop treating God like a genie and start trusting him like a father. That's when you learn that peace isn't just about everything going right, it's about knowing who's holding you even when things go wrong. I've had doors slam in my face that I thought were meant for me, and at the time I was mad, I was confused, I couldn't understand why things weren't moving the way I planned. But later on, years later, I looked back and realized if I had gotten what I wanted when I wanted it, I would have missed out on something so much better. I couldn't see it then, but God saw the whole picture. He knew where I was going and he knew what I needed to go through to get there. And that's what I'm trying to tell you right now. Don't rush the process. Don't let delay make you doubt. Delay is not denial. Just because it's taking time doesn't mean God said no. It might mean he's saying not yet. And when you trust his timing, even the wait becomes a part of the blessing. Even the silence becomes meaningful, because you know he's doing something with every second. So instead of asking God, why is this taking so long, start asking God, what are you teaching me while I wait? Instead of focusing on what hasn't happened, start focusing on who you're becoming while you wait. That's the kind of shift that turns waiting into worship. That's the kind of heart posture that invites peace into your process. And when the time comes, because it will, you'll be ready. You won't just be receiving a blessing, you'll be ready to carry it, ready to protect it, ready to steward it the right way. Because you didn't skip you didn't cheat the process. You waited, you trusted, and that wait prepared you for more than you even asked for. So don't be discouraged. Keep trusting, keep believing, keep walking, because God's timing is never early, and it's never late. It's always right on time. You ever been in a situation where you're trying to fight a battle that wasn't even yours to fight? You're stressing, worrying, losing sleep, trying to figure out how to fix something that's way too big for you to handle on your own. And deep down you know you're not built to carry it, but you carry it anyway. That's what we do sometimes. We pick up battles that belong to God. We step into fights we were never supposed to fight, and then wonder why we're so worn out, so broken, so tired. That's what happens when you don't let go and let God. Letting go, that's not weakness, that's wisdom. That's the moment you stop trying to control the outcome and start trusting the one who already sees the ending. Some of y'all are so tied up in how to fix it,
how to make it work, how to get revenge, how to prove yourself to people who never saw your worth in the first place. But listen to me, that is not your fight. Your job is not to fight everybody who comes against you. Your job is not to make everyone understand you. Your job is to keep your peace and let God handle what only He can handle. Now, I know it sounds easy when I say it, but I also know how hard that is when you're in the thick of it. When somebody lied on you, when somebody betrayed you, when life hit you with something that shook you to your core, when you're doing your best and life keeps throwing curveballs, and your instinct is to fight. Your instinct is to push back, clap back, get even. But when you really start walking with God, you learn something powerful. Not everything deserves your reaction. Not every battle needs your energy. Some fights you win by staying still and letting God move. See, there's power in silence. There's power in restraint. And there's even greater power in surrender. Because when you stop trying to fight your way through everything, and you say, God, I'm putting this in your hands, that's when real strength shows up. That's when peace walks in. That's when God says, finally, you're letting me be who I said I am.